small for this. But if it falls on near yours, okay, it's more. Ivatte ella naanbiಟ್ಟು IIT ಗೆ given. But something is going to your head, it's enough. You can get motivated and inspired by it. ದೊಡ್ಡವರೆಲ್ಲ ಸೈಲೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೋಬಾರ್ದು. ನಿಶಾ, ರಚನಾ, ಅಕ್ಷರ್, ರಾಹುಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲೇ ಇಷ್ಟು ಎಷ್ಟು except Akshat, everybody was so I did not follow. Others, others, ಏನು question ಏನು ಅಂದ್ರೆ you understood everything more of
mathematics because I had worked so hard for my entrance exams. For the bachelor students at St. Xavier's, I taught a brief extra credits course. All of these things kept me in the direction that I wanted to head. I was still preparing for the entrances and I also gained social interaction. What I essentially did was not postpone my life because I had missed one stop. I understood that that was also something that I needed to experience to perhaps gain some compassion as well for people who would face similar things in life, right? If it had been just stand first, do well everywhere, perhaps I wouldn't have this sort of understanding and compassion that I have today, not just for others, but also for myself. To understand that it's okay to fail. It's okay to not get everything that I want or seek for myself in the first go itself, but then to not give up on myself either. Not to become complacent in the knowledge that it's okay to fail, but to persevere and make it the next year. So I would highly recommend going for your plan B so that you stay in touch with your peers. You also are doing something else alongside. Yeah, that would be my advice.
So the other side now, right? Getting too many, IIT qualifications, right? So how did you deal with that? I mean, rejecting IIT is definitely not a simple thing, right?
That has been a tough process. So the way it works is after you get your GATE scores, JAM scores, or your JEE scores, you log on to COAP, the Common Offer Acceptance Portal. And what happens is each week they roll out their offer letters. Whatever colleges you've made it to, they'll roll out those offers. And you have the option to accept your offer and freeze that decision right there and then. You can retain the offer and wait for another round of the COAP and see if you can make it to higher preferences, or you reject the offer, right? These are the three options that you have at hand. What I would recommend, and I'm glad that yes. So COEP is also affiliated with GATE. So if you want to get into any of the PSUs, DRDO, etc., even they roll out their offer letters on COAP. You have to put your GATE score, JAM score, etc., onto that portal, and then the offers reach there. Well, what helps is before you even reach that stage, right? Before you reach the decision making stage, to list out your preferences and have a vague idea, understanding of where you want to head. Because once you get in, you just want to be sure of the place that you're going to. You don't want to wait. Even the 1 week that you have to wait for the next round of offers seems too long. So you want to have some sort of certainty about where you are headed, and then you can make some rash decisions that you might regret later. So a good idea is to be, even before you reach that stage, list down your preferences somewhere and understand why you are choosing. Maybe for what worked for me was also writing down the reasons at that point about why I was, the pros and cons for every institute that I had applied to. And then that I, every time a new offer on COAP appeared, I went back to this list and understood that okay, if this is what was true back then, nothing has changed now. I don't need to take a decision only because I don't know what will happen tomorrow, right? I needed to be patient with the process, and this, having all of this anchored early on, helped me.
I think everybody will have to handle this managing three IITs. It's your effort that you have to go through three IITs.
How many are left? How that process, right?
How to be aware of this course, how many colleges
question also because I struggled with it. This is a major difference that I observe in my a year of struggling and being an aspirant again, right? What I did this time was not just to study for the exam, but study the exam itself, study the institutes that I was applying to, understand each and every detail of their curriculum, their syllabus. So all of that, most of these colleges will put on their website. They will also put their placement brochures. What are the fields that their students have been pursuing after getting into this course? You can connect on LinkedIn with people who have already been a student at this place, right? And then from all of these places had collated a sort of database that I could, okay, every time I got a new result, I knew the people that I needed to connect to in order to gain a better understanding of whether or not I should be choosing this option. Yes.
So when I'm telling during your school days, like in high school time, when you knew that you were interested in economics, which is not very common, as you said, you, all your background, all your relatives or whoever came from IT. Right? So how did you convince everyone, or how were you exposed to that? Because I've seen many people who are just constrained to a few streams. That's it. It ends there. That's what. But you opened up larger opportunities for yourself. So how was that journey? That how would you convince people of that?
Mm-hmm.
Convince yourself that there is opportunity.
Right, yeah. So I think, well, I wasn't sure about economics in 10th grade either. I was sure of arts. I decided to give myself time for taking the final decision. I knew that at the 10th standard level, all I needed to choose was one of these streams. I knew some of the options that lay ahead for me if I were to choose arts. I knew that I was interested in those particular options, and hence I continued with that first. Then in my undergraduate, we had to choose three subjects as our minors. So I chose political science, economics, and English literature. I knew I loved reading. I knew that I was interested in social sciences, and I knew I wanted some component of maths to be involved in my education. So these were the three choices that I made back then. After gaining exposure a couple of years in these fields, I knew that economics was eventually what I was most interested in. So I was again another important factor in all of this was my parents never said that this is the only field that you can choose. Or I mean, they weren't okay with all of my decisions either. I wouldn't say that they said, okay, arts sounds great, let's go ahead with this. They were always pushing me to understand what lay ahead after this. What could you do with arts? Why not science? If tomorrow you were to do science, are you prepared for that as well? Do you have all of the things that you can do as of now in place in order to make these choices? Not because you're compelled to make them, because you have ruled out all other options, but because you genuinely want to study those subjects. So, yeah, parental support, just reading and understanding, attending IIT Foundation classes. One of my friends asked me, so it wasn't very common back in my suburb. I didn't have these options in my suburb as well. I had to travel some 4 stations since I was what 14, since my 8th grade, to attend IIT Foundation classes. And then somebody who was much older to me asked me, so all of your concepts must be really clear, right? Now that you go to IIT Foundation classes. I said, if there's one thing that has been clear to me, it is that this is not my path. I don't want to pursue engineering. I sort of understand what will be in the picture if I were to pursue this course, and this is not for me. So I think that is also important. Early on, have some exposure, engage with people, talk to people from different professions, and understand what you will be doing if you were to choose that option. So yeah, all of this helped me make that choice.
Nisha, do you use social media distracting?
Oh, I am notorious for not being active on any social media. I have WhatsApp because all of the college activities, the promotion, etc., happens on WhatsApp. I am on LinkedIn for opportunities to collaborate on internships, jobs, etc. But that is where I have drawn the line. I'm not on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. Never have been. So that worked out well for me. Yeah.
But you had that pressure because when I talk to college students,
Right.
if they don't have, you'll be outcast.
Ah.
So that's a big pressure, not only about social media, other things also you
Right.
might be knowing much
Yes.
more
Yeah.
than what I know.
Hmm.
So have you ever felt that you were left out or you were considered everybody
Yeah.
or you were put in your words?
Right.
Yeah, you are not active on those because it is so common and mandatory to have
Mm.
have account of Instagram
Right.
or have account of Facebook.
Yeah.
So when you don't have,
Hmm.
how they were treating you and how did you manage?
Right, right, right. So again, I think whenever somebody asked me why you aren't on Instagram, my question would be, why are you on Instagram though? What are the reasons that compel you to be on this platform? And the usual answers that I've gotten so far is, one, to stay connected with my peers. In college, I was a very active child. I participated in a lot of activities. I would attend college very regularly. So I never felt left out, or I never felt that I was missing out on anything because I wasn't on Instagram. The other thing that they've mentioned pretty often is to just gain general information. A lot of people keep up with the news because of social media, or understand what movements are happening across the world because of it. I was used to reading the newspaper. I was very actively involved in conversations with my parents or my relatives, etc., about where the world is headed in general. So I didn't need to necessarily rely on social media as a source of information. So that was my other thing. And the third thing was to just pass time, to scroll through reels and make time pass. I was traveling in local trains for 4 hours every day. I didn't have the time to pass or the time to kill that way, right? So then again, that wasn't a need for me. All the three options were ruled out. I didn't really feel the need to be. Now, again, was I outcast because I wasn't on social media? I think I was fortunate in terms of my college environment, where everybody was so geared towards either academics or extracurricular activities and really invested in doing all of this, right? They didn't have the time to, how do I say, to engage in a lot of social media activism or just the meme culture, etc. They weren't very active in terms of all of that. So then that worked out well for me. They were in the same boat too, essentially.
Blessed.
Yeah, in that regard.
So that really is tremendous for any child to take an 18, 19, 20.
Mhm.
When everybody is going in one path, if you choose a different path.
Right.
So it's very difficult.
Right.
If at least the person next to you are on your board,
Yeah.
then it will be easy.
Definitely. Yeah.
So basically, when I was growing up, right, so I joined engineering. Computer science was the subject that time, and I did not know IIT at all. not, not that if I knew IIT, I would have qualified. But such ignorant kind of IIT was very elite class, I guess, for city. I'm from a darkest village corner. I come from that not well-to-do family, not very rich, not educated in the English medium school. I was studying in Kannada medium till 10th. Right, in 11th and 12th, I did not speak even proper English. In engineering, I could not speak proper English. And then life took me in different direction. And a lot of it could be grace, right? It could be grace. So there is Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika, and Adi Bhautika, right? So Adi Bhautika is what she is made up of, her ego, right? Adi Daivika is the grace. Adhyatmika is what is innate in you. Right? So anyway, so your effort is important and grace is also important. No matter how much effort you put in, if there is no grace, so grace in the sense grace could be from parents, from your friends, from your environment, from your God, what you invest in yourself, everything, right? Together is grace. Um, So I also want to draw some attention towards what I said is not related to what I'm going to ask now. So it was all about engineering, it was all about medical that time, where I was going, right? But there are a lot of other areas which we can explore. I remember when she's been visiting this house for a very long time, right? So she was talking about IAS a long time. And IAS, if you Rahul, you were the question that, right? Is it forest or forest? Indian foreign service. Indian foreign service, but what is it forest for? It is also IFS? Yes or no?
What he wants to do is cut the forest. So he's
Sure about that.
So there is also, I remember she was talking about I would do IAS. Right, IAS you all know, right? Very, very difficult to qualify. We need people in the IAS path also. And there are some other areas. Economics is what she has taken already. She already said earlier that from Kanpur she got an idea that economics is the highest place. Right. That is one. And history is also one more. History and also the what do you do? The old temples.
Archaeology.
Archaeology. Archaeology is also a very good area. The thing is, whatever something innate in you, right? That I mean, I'm very interested in actually archaeology, right? And a little bit of music. I didn't get training in both, right? But then I did computer science because I had to start earning and get some money, right? Because I didn't have any money that time. So idea was to get the money first. And computer science engineering was the best bet. And that worked out well because of the grace, not because I had any ability I will admit. Right. So, so but there are other IAS is one wonderful path and EdTech.
Hmm.
EdTech is all these platforms, EdTech platforms.
Byju's.
Byju's you have,
Hmm.
EdTech will be both, right? Either the software platform and also content providing.
Yeah.
You can also provide content.
Yeah.
And then politics. Politics is also another area. Legal studies, lawyers, we need advocates today. In Supreme Court, Chief Judge, anybody knows who is the Chandrachud. So yeah, since you said the name, I'm sure you know about him, right? So it's very important to play in that area also, legal, the advocates, being the courts and all that. And teaching is another area. I was saying that there are not many good teachers now. Nursing, nursing is a nurse, like
in the hospital.
hospital. This is the
Help people.
health sciences area. So you have MBBS and you have physiotherapy and then you have psychology and you have nursing. And there are many health sciences. This is also radiology and all those wonderful things, right? Physiotherapy is already psychology is what you're doing. So there are a lot of areas. So there are a lot of areas other than medical and
Engineering.
engineering, right? And what I want to draw attention is what is something that you like, what is something that you really innately like, and that is where you will make, you'll be very successful, right? If you like music, and there's something that you don't like or you don't have inclination to model, you may not go that far. I think economics is something that shows. I thought she would choose engineering or she would have easily qualified for MBBS and she would have been a great doctor. I guess, right? Whatever. But economics, and by the way, she talked about RBA, right? The college that she's joining, RBA recruitment is almost guaranteed, right? You all know RBA, right? What is RBA? The company that makes treats our boss, right? And one of our relatives works in RBA as in a very top position, not because of anything she's getting
Thank
there,
you.
but
Yeah, I came to know later.
talking to him, okay, what does it mean to be a director in RBI? The guy who signs the RBI notes, right, governor, right? Anybody knows who's the current governor? Uh, yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Shakti Kantada.
Yeah. So, of course, it is well aligned with the government. BJP comes there, they were governor, and Congress comes there, they were governor. Anyway, they are not well qualified, including Manmohan Singh, right? So, RBI is not like extremely well paid position. RBI, RBI, when you go to RBI, you will not make money like you would do in IT, right? For example, I'm saying. So, but then it is such an influential position, policy making, she said, being in politics, being a lawyer, being in policy making, right? Right now, our Home Minister has come out with a new Indian Penal Code, what do you call that? He's completely been revamped. Current laws are from British, made in 1850s, very archaic and for British times. I mean, he's changing that now, and our young generation is going in that direction, in that policy making journey, and that is crowded with the other gambling, right? So we need to also explore that area, right? Yeah.
When he was talking, these two concerns came up. Maybe many of them they have, but they are not asking. Two things. One is when you are digging up what you could do, what options, you were helped by your parents, or you did all those digging up things on your own, because that can inspire them, because usually our children are spoon fed. Then they will not try to
Swallow.
swallow. So, but I believe that you have a lot of these research in the background, and then you choose what you want. Everybody wants to be, that focused, what they want to. But I want you to answer that question, the first one. The second one is, most importantly, maybe Rachna, Nisha, and Akshar, those age groups, not these children at least, they will choose a profession which, where they can earn money. So it is for money. So have you ever thought in that direction also?
Hmm.
So because money very basic, you need it. But choosing a profession for earning money, I don't know you will like that or not. Because you have to do that for so many years.
Right.
So usually if you like it and you are earning money, they will just luck for you.
Yeah.
Because if I love teaching and it is giving me money, then I enjoy what I'm doing. Many people they don't do that. Only for the money they choose something.
Mm-hmm.
So those two questions, it's not questions.
Yeah. All right. So, firstly, about was my research done by myself or was it okay? Yeah, largely a lot of work by myself. Also, I am fortunate that it occurred that way, because had I not been the person to look up all of these fields, I would have been influenced by what my parents were already sort of pointing at, right? If they were saying that, oh, maybe you should be considering, which my mom did to a certain extent, that medical sciences seem very interesting, right? So that did happen, but then it was never about, it was always that this seems interesting, but what are you interested in? So that needed to come from my side, and that I think applies to everybody. You need to find what you are interested in before understanding that, oh, this can pay me as much, or this can, get me a lal batti, etc. If that is sarkari naukri is what you're looking at, understand, again, like at a very basic level, as Mahi said earlier, we aren't taught economics at 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade levels. So to understand whether I'm even interested in economics, I knew I liked maths, I knew that I liked social sciences, whatever I had been taught so far. So then bringing it down to those building blocks of any particular subject helped me make that decision. And then again, while the research was done by myself, I was helped by my parents in terms of the decision making, because again there will be other components that I haven't even considered when I am at that age, right? So then they pushed me to look at some other factors that I hadn't considered back then. At some point I was also, in fact, I had a full ride scholarship in a college in Boston after my 12th grade. So that was on the cards. I might have gone out after my 12th and pursue my bachelor's abroad, but then I knew that I wanted to do a bachelor's, a master's, and maybe a PhD, a lot of education on not a very affluent budget. So then I had to take all of that into consideration as well, a very balanced view that I could take only because of my parents' involvement in the decision process. So that
Indeed, what you said, she got a seat in Boston
full ride scholarship, which means 100% tuition fees
scholarship.
sponsored by
Boston is in
college.
US.
Economics. Yeah.
Boston is in US, northeast of US. So she's saying 4 years of degree and then 2 years of
Masters, yeah.
maybe PhD, and then she won't come back here for sure. Right?
I would be paying off other debts.
She will have a lot of sala. There is sala here on his head. So yeah, she didn't go for that way that she wants to. And by the way, you were
Okay, I
also
didn't answer my answer.
Second question.
you remember
Yes.
Yes. No. No, I don't.
That's good.
what is the second question?
Because you didn't remember, I thought your answer is no.
No,
You
no.
thought about money.
Okay, okay. The money aspect of it. I think it is.
My question was, have she ever thought that her profession
Will not be
give her
very
lot of
lucrative.
money, or for money she's choosing a profession? That confusion may be there for everybody, right?
Hmm.
Oh, ಈ degree ಓದಿದ್ರೆ ನನಗೆ ಬೇಕಾದ food ಬರುತ್ತಪ್ಪ, I'll be okay or not.
Mm-hmm.
That will be there.
Right, right, right. I think again, I was sort of lucky to understand that I wasn't starving tomorrow if I didn't bring a penny home. My parents had given me a sort of comfortable position to be in to explore these options, right? And that is a luxury that a lot of like our earlier generations did not enjoy. As he was saying earlier, his focus was on making money because that was the need of the hour. What I believe is my parents have done that job. They have ensured that money is coming in at home, I am taken care of, etc. My role today is to ensure how I could use that money, how I could use my skill to create social impact, and that is where I wanted to be headed. So that's why, again, is money not a factor at all? From all the options that I will be presented from now on, I will choose the option that is highly lucrative, and I will look at those factors as well. So I wouldn't say that I am completely ignorant of the money aspect of it, but then that isn't my highest priority either. Yeah,
Not
the only decisive factor. Yeah.
So like you said, even in the sense that it's not black and white, it's very difficult.
Hmm.
The priority she has, now that she has chosen economics, in economics she will choose the job which gives her the better,
Hmm.
the,
Best returns.
the best return. Right? Otherwise she would have chosen MBBS for sure, and she would have one heart operation or one knee operation, 2.5 lakhs. But then the policy making and in that area, right, that's a very influential area. So one of my relatives' wife, she is a district magistrate who collector.
Hmm.
She passed the KAS, right? That administrative service. She was a teacher in the primary school. Now she passed KAS. Now in Bangalore area, she is a DC, district collector. There will be always somebody opening the door for her, right? So 3831. Huh? 3831. So the what do you call that collector. So it's a very committed, but very respected position, and you have a lot of influence on the society. She said, what did you say?
Impact.
Social impact, very high social impact, right? Being a police officer, who is the chief of Bangalore police, police commissioner, being a police commissioner or a district collector, these are highly influential, being a chief judge, very highly influential positions, right? And your bias will obviously impact on that. So being worthy people in those positions is much safer for us, right? Much rather than having unworthy person there and paying for it.
So why you said people did not have much of the awareness on IITs, right? So up until now, so I did not realize that the IIT offers economics as well.
Oh.
So I was always in the mind that IIT is meant for
Technical, yeah.
And your aims is meant for only medical
Hmm,
education,
hmm,
right? So that's how I'm like, how can you help the other set of people to bring this awareness?
Right.
So like me,
Hmm.
there are many others.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Hmm.
who did not have that awareness.
Hmm.
But
True.
where exactly it tells that yes, economics is a course which offers and you said IGRD.
IIT, yes, DSC.
So these names are something which is absolutely
Foreign, yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, there is some institute for TIS.
TIS, yeah. I made it to TIS, yeah.
You said something about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I got last year. I was yeah, but they don't offer an independent economics program. They give us development studies program.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I will while last month to don't understand the difference between what you said, these two terminologies. It was
Okay.
very alien to me. Okay,
Hmm.
so I
Hmm.
don't
Hmm.
understand.
Hmm.
And how do you describe, for somebody aspiring,
Hmm.
right, that I want to pursue only economics, I want to pursue only mathematics.
Right.
So which universities or which educational channels that will help you to reach that destination?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So any guidance on that?
Okay. I think the first part of the problem right now, if you are a student who is studying in 10th standard, the one thing that you need to ensure is, if you want, you know that you are largely interested in economics or any of this, choose math. Ensure that your mathematical foundations are in place so that you can work on this in your 11th and 12th. You will have a lot of other opportunities opening up in your next educational choices journey. Yes, if you were to do that. Now what should I be choosing after 10th standard in terms of my, I think, I don't know how it works in Bangalore. Do you also have to choose a college for 11th and 12th as well, or do you continue in schools? Both. Okay.
Commonly, they choose a college.
They choose a college. All right. For me, it was easier as a decision because my JC 11th and 12th college also offers bachelors, and it is one of the best colleges in India. So I knew that if I wanted to be there for bachelors, I needed to get in early so that I get used to the system. I get a sort of advantage compared to people who will come in their first year of my bachelor's degree, right? So all of that. So knowing that you are even headed in that field, then having a backup that is starkly in contrast with what you want to do. You want to do IAS or you want to do IES, Indian Economic Services, then doing an engineering degree on the side is something that is not going to eventually align. Perhaps you do engineering and go towards those services as well. That is an option you could consider. But then again, like for me, I think the idea is to align all the steps towards your goal rather than having a foot in many boats and then eventually not managing. How do we gain the knowledge of what are the best places, what are the institutes, what are the options? There is a dearth of resources in terms of that. There's an exceptional dearth of good guidance material, etc. And it is also very biased. People writing reviews of the colleges are students of the colleges that might have had an excellent journey at the college, or want to ensure that the college remains high in their rankings because that has gone down on their CV. When they go for a job, it is in their benefit to have this college shining so that they can claim that they came from a very prestigious institute, right? So that again is difficult for me. My guidance from my teachers, professors at every single point of the journey helped a lot, because they could present a somewhat unbiased opinion on a lot of these places. They had colleagues that were in a lot of these colleges already. So that is what helped in my case. But I hear your concern. I understand that there is a lack.
I think that's the primary thing which Indians also have that thing. And I belong from America, so we the courses which I was aware, it was the developmental courses. Okay,
Hmm.
BSc, BCom, that's it. Used to come with this.
I don't know the course, no?
BSc.
You wouldn't know the Nabita.
Danda pinda. Okay.
What is the Hindi, English, there's one is.
Oh.
So there used to be a initiate which is the top. And
Hmm.
so
Oh.
So by the way, she made a point most of my that maths. So that you might go next. Like, since there is no maths, I'm taking that because some of you may not like maths. But what she said was economics needs maths. What
Yeah.
else needs maths?
A lot of the other fields, even if you go in psychology tomorrow and you want to be, yeah, a cognitive psychologist, you want to work in clinical psychology, you will be doing something called psychometrics. So you will be measuring, you need that sort of statistical mathematical understanding in order to thrive in that field as well. It helps to make peace with math early on so that you can use it to your advantage across a broad range of fields.
And this is where the MBA degrees are. So
Yeah.
they put psychometric courses,
Mm-hmm.
aptitude or cognitive,
Right.
yeah. So these are all certain MBA curriculum which is coming out of
Hmm.
other places,
Hmm.
but not giving any MBA aspirant, to get into the right direction.
Right.
So there are not many MBAs and there are not many advocates
Hmm.
in every corner.
Hmm.
So not serving you the clear purpose actually.
Right. Hmm.
That's very unfortunate.
Hmm.
But what I understand, the route is very clear for you. So
Yeah.
you had some doubts where
Hmm.
basically you do some right,
Hmm.
and with that people are able to at least like you,
Hmm.
who are able to take in the right direction.
Hmm.
So that is where so what my observation from her. So the route is what we are lacking at this point in time. So we don't have somebody who can guide us into the right direction after 10th. So you get into this, or after UPUC you get into that. So we only have choices like either engineering or medical sciences. So there are many others, so which we don't even know about it, right? So
And one more point she made, right? Social media, you asked, how you stayed away. So I would say she still stayed away with the LinkedIn. If you have noted, right?
Yeah.
LinkedIn is where you can have a lot of peers,
Hmm.
college mates,
Hmm.
you can recommend. So LinkedIn is not only for job searching,
Right.
Rather
Yeah.
than, she used it in a positive way, I would say, rather than doing the time pass. Right. So that is probably one good option for all the kids here. Once you know that you're interested in something, then you focus everything on that.
Yeah.
She focused everything on economics. She might have said what is best here, so she can pursue economics in that thing. So if my son says I want to be a footballer, then my responsibility is to help him to search all the best places for football. If she says she wants to be an architect, search all the best places to. She is maybe graced and maybe blessed. Her focus was very clear. She knew what she wants to do. Many of us, we don't know actually what we want.
so we are very clear about what we do not know.
For my daughter, if I ask her, at least she was clear, she wants to do something in health science. It is easier.
Right.
If I ask my son, he will say football. Many people, they will not be clear. Now our responsibility or duty is find and show them the best places. Or as she did her research, and God's grace again, somebody helped her. Because you can't hope your professors or lecturers to drive you in that direction where you want to. Usually they just push you away because their thing is just finish your portion, give the exam and go home. Yeah, they will not overly help students. She might be the best student and she had got that help also. Yeah.
And also, good point is she's bright for sure. There is no doubt about it. But also persistence.
Yes.
You have to do this. Just go to the college, go to the
Syllabus.
syllabus and come back. And she might want to see what else is available, what
Yeah.
books I need to read,
Yes.
what other classes. Everything you have to explore because it's your journey. And parents also will not know actually clueless about what you have to do, right? They will also not be able to help you. And she went to best of the best college in University, right?
Yeah.
She went to the best college, but even there you can lose your track.
Yeah.
There are so many distractions these days, right?
Hmm.
So keep your, your age, the right age to study,
Hmm.
right? Because right time to take some courses and to get focus is very difficult as you age, right? And this is your age where you invest in that area. So important to keep the focus. One more point I want to mention is that when you are in college, you also have exposure to other areas, right?
Hmm.
So you might want to touch on that
Hmm.
because to have exposure to all the areas is also very important. It increases your world vision, right? That way it gives you a better idea. And also when you face interviews, when you discuss,
Hmm.
all these things will come to your help, right?
Absolutely.
You are not cocooned in one particular area.
Hmm.
You have a wider vision. Maybe you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I think I can connect this specifically to the job opportunity that I eventually pursued and what experience I had through my college. So my college has this scheme called the social involvement program, wherein we spend, because they understand that whatever knowledge you pursue in a place that can tend to be slightly elitist in terms of the backgrounds that people are coming from, can make you very cocooned and very sterile and very sort of detached from the problems of the real world. and you may have extremely eloquent opinions on how to solve these issues, but unless you actually go and work in a setup of this sort, you won't come to know what problems actually exist at the grassroots end, right? And why your elite fancy sort of MBA influenced solutions cannot work in this place. So I worked in an NGO where 30 students of different age groups were living together in a building, in a room that was till this pillar, perhaps just in this space. 30 students lived there, single mothers, some orphans, etc. That sort of background. And I had to make sure that all of them were involved, all of them were being given attention to, and they were studying. They weren't just rote learning for the sake of reproducing in the exams and succeeding in them, but also saw that there was some point in education. There was merit in studying. There was merit in actually, there was hope for you to lead a different life than your parents if you were to study. So understanding all of this, seeing the problems that they faced in their schools, I understood that these are the things that need to be tackled. Then I looked for my job opportunities. Fortunately, I had a placement cell in college that brought in diverse set of roles, and one of the roles that came in was educational initiatives, the company that I later joined. And they work in this area. They collaborate with a lot of other multilateral organizations and conduct large scale educational programs. One of the products that I was engaged with was English as second language, which means adapting English to Indian contexts that were immediately relevant, right? Taking a bus ride or getting uh, something from the shop, etc. What kind of English do you want to be using? Not some John, Mary with lamb and pies that weren't very familiar to the rural parts of India, showing brown skinned people, etc. So those were the sort of products that I was also engaged in creating and testing their impact. So then I think having this sort of experience in your college and like this exposure helps you to understand, one, what you're good at, and two, where should you be putting those skills to use, where the actual need is. So I think, yeah, those other opportunities help me align my skills to the needs of the society today.
Question, so many parents, right? So they also influence their kids. Okay, you should be an engineer or a doctor, or whatever their dreams, right? Maybe they didn't achieve that, or they want to follow the same thing, right? So, what is your suggestion for the parents that don't influence too much or whatever
Hmm.
you want to say, right? That is
Right.
one thing. Another thing is she is my sister's daughter, right? So,
Nepotism.
yeah, like my sister, she wanted her to be a doctor. Okay, initially. So she tried her best, but then she moved on to my son. Okay, either Nisha or Akshat
Akshat.
or whatever. So very eager, but he also chose not to become a doctor. He don't like biology, so he chose some other kind now, right? So, so that is one best example, right? So your parents may want your child in a certain area, right? So how do you convey the message to parents these days how kids are good at decision making or not so good or confused or
Hmm.
this kind.
Yeah, I think one key issue that happens is, if, say, I am a person who's working in the tech field, a lot of my friends might also, and my colleagues will be in the same field. We are having conversations about the same job opportunity. So we aren't really exposed to a lot of other fields unless we have some relatives or some friends who are working in these other areas. Now, fortunately for me, my father worked in a bank, so he was engaging with like a broad range of professionals on a daily basis, and having those conversations, understanding that there are other opportunities out there which he himself may not know all the details of, but there are chances that I could pursue, his children could pursue, right? So I think as parents, I mean, I don't think I'm really the person to advise parents on anything, but I would say that I was blessed to have parents who supported my choices. And in multiple ways, not just like openly claiming support, but also in terms of right now, right? While I was doing all of this journey, I had to travel to Kanpur to write the IIT Kanpur test, or I had to go to a lot of other places to do all of this. Every single time I expressed an interest in writing a particular exam or going to a certain place, my dad would open his laptop and start looking at train tickets to this place or making all the other arrangements in place, right? So yes, support, and also a lot of like the logistical things that parents can help with makes a lot of difference in terms of the aspirant's journey, I would say. So yeah.
To me, all of you youngsters,
Yeah,
you're
yes,
eight.
Yes.
so other than financial constraints for your abroad, what were your other decisions which made you stay in India and not go to?
Okay.
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. Other than financial constraints, what were the other factors that motivated me to stay in India and not pursue my education abroad? I think when I was in 12th standard, I was naive enough to sort of also believe that I could go study abroad, but then I could come back here and work. Because I had seen my relatives do that. I had seen my relatives go and work for a little bit and come back to India and work. I knew that I wanted to stay in India, but I didn't understand that if I were paying in dollars to pursue education there and coming back in earning in rupees, just in pure economic sense, it didn't really work out well, right? So then, yeah, other than financial factors, the biggest motivation was deciding that eventually I wanted to live in India. And if that was the point in the first place, looking at opportunities that also existed in India, because I had always heard in high terms of all the opportunities that exist abroad, going to Cambridge, going to Oxford, going to London School of Economics, and what options are early ahead there, right? But then, as I think we were talking about a little earlier, there are a lack of resources in terms of understanding what are the Indian opportunities. So then I was compelled to do research in terms of Indian opportunities. When I got to know that I can contribute in so many ways and I wasn't missing out by not going abroad, the decision was very easy to stay in India. Yes. Oh my God.
You should have a plan B and you question your first choice. Maybe I should have taken the wrong path. Like, what are your internal motivations? So that is more important.
Yeah, fair. Um, because of my exposure to IIT Foundation classes in 8th, ninth, and 10th, I knew that not choosing science was definitely a good decision. So that was never a question in terms of should I have not pursued arts. That never really came to my mind. But then, should I have pursued economics? Should I have tried, political science or literature, the other options that I had? Those factors have also like it's never struck my mind that I should have studied literature or political science. Those secondary options never really came in because I think economics as a field also does not really limit me. I can still be a contributor to economics, literature, be, an editor, or the sort of roles that literature had opened for me by pursuing economics. Again, I can be somebody who is involved in policy making, policy implementation by pursuing this field. So I wasn't really losing out on the options that political science had opened for me either. What I gained was also this strong structure of mathematics to my life by choosing economics. So yeah, for me it wasn't really a conversation about whether I should have chosen the other options. That hasn't struck me ever.
How did you control the burnout?
Oh yeah,
Traveling and all that.
that how did I control my burnout? Two issues. One, burnout. Second, um, revenge bedtime procrastination. That is again something that a lot of us can deal with. For those who don't know, revenge bedtime procrastination is when you feel helpless and you sort of lose control over the activities of your life, right? what you tend to do is you take that out in terms of two things: either your diet, you sort of like eat whatever you want and binge so that you are, you feel a sense of control in overeating, or sleep. You just procrastinate your bedtime hours, you don't sleep on time. And I faced a bit of the bedtime procrastination, say I think this is around late October, and this lasted for quite a bit till I think January. After which I realized that I couldn't have that take a toll on my health and then compromise my gate and jam attempts, right? So this realization is something that came out a little later. To deal with burnout, yoga helped a lot. I was also running 2 kilometers almost every day through that phase of life. So that helped. Being engaged in physical activity, later on joining a gym, etc. All of these other factors helped me deal with burnout and revenge bedtime procrastination.
Any questions you
So when you're attending to IIT gate and all, how did you schedule your day?
How did I schedule my day? What was my routine while preparing for gate and jam? This is something that I've been following for a while now. I tend to divide my day into three portions of 8 hours. 8 hours of sleep compulsorily as much as possible, 8 hours of studying, and then 8 hours for other activities, physical activity, eating, bathing, etc., all of those, right? And those 8 hours as well, I have now come to identify that my morning hours the most productive for me. So then waking up a little early in the morning, ensuring that I finish almost some 4 hours in that span when I am the most productive. Then after lunch, solving papers, because that is when you tend to want to like relax or sleep, take a nap, etc., right? And that might backfire. So when you're solving a paper, you are compelled to be active. You have to sit down in one place and get all of that done. So then solving papers, then maybe taking a walk or something, coming back, reassessing my answers, and planning the rest of my evening study session based on whatever I thought were my weaknesses for that day's exam. So that is how I scheduled my day during my gate jam preparation.
Usually what students do is after they come from school or college, they think that they've done so much in the college and now they have to relax. And your next 2 to 3 hours of productive time is gone. Then when you have to come down and, as you said, do something which no you can just really do, those times you will start then sit studying where you cannot focus. This we actually say to, when we counsel students, we say this: as soon as you go home, you start your work. You are actually fresh, you are with your people, you have traveled, the relaxation is done, sit and study. And when your battery starts going down, do your
Physical
reading,
activity, yeah.
homework, physical activity.
Morning hours, that definitely.
For some, maybe it is night.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
some, it is morning. For some, it is like 9 to 12 o'clock, they'll be super perfect, very rare. Because our clock,
Body clock is aligned
yes,
to
very
the
much
sun.
aligned with the thing, right? So it's always best morning hours.
And 8 hours compulsory sleep. That is
Yeah.
also very
Yes.
So, two more things, right? What is your dream, ultimate dream? That is one. And another thing is you started earning in between, right? So, uh, was it very tough to, you started earning money and then again you have to stop on your salary and
Right,
then,
right, right,
go
right.
into,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I'll deal with the financial aspect first, the earning money part. I had been tutoring and freelance writing since after my 10th grade. So since I was 17, I was teaching Sanskrit, English, and I've taught a bit of French. And I would write. So because of all of this, I had
Sanskrit, English, and
French.
French.
Yeah.
If you were teaching that or earning money, right?
Yeah, and I was earning, and I would publish articles. I would collaborate with writing agencies at that point. So I was earning through freelance writing as well. So the money had been, my earning had started since I was 16, 17. And then again, when the job happened, I understood that I spoke with a lot of my peers who had started with the understanding that they'll work for 2 years, gain some work experience, then do an MBA because work experience reflects well in your MBA interviews, and then go on from there, right? And I saw people not doing that. I saw people who were still stuck in those same jobs, who once they had become comfortable in their roles, for whatever reason, didn't want to sort of pursue that and found it very difficult to give up on a secure stream of income coming in every month and struggling to study. That is when I understood that I had to quit. I had to quit my job while I still could. I had to go and do my MA part 1 at whatever college I was getting, and keep ensure that the stakes were high enough for me to not become complacent, for me to not think that, oh okay, well, if nothing else works out, at least I have the job, right? My money is coming in and I don't need to worry too much. That couldn't have been a factor for me. I knew that I wanted, my goals were larger than this. I wanted to be in that place, and hence I never could have become too fixated on the money income aspect of it. What is my larger dream? Oh. Right. Mhm. Well, my dream is to work in the social impact sector. Now, if this were to happen from the corporate end, it could be in companies such as a lot of companies, PwC, Dalberg, etc., that have elements that work on creating educational plans, etc. Right? So, either going in through that end or working with the Reserve Bank of India, the World Bank, the IMF, the Asian Development Bank, any of these organizations that deal with plans that happen at a larger scale. That is what excites me. Scale, impact, and eventually optimizing decisions not to inflate a company's balance sheet, but to inflate the range of welfare and choices that people have at the end of the day, because you've managed to create a plan well, you managed to roll out policies better, etc. So yeah, that is, I wouldn't really put a label on it that this is what I want to be, but I know that this is what I want to do, essentially.
How do you deal with like the pressure you put on yourself?
Yeah.
Like maybe less and more than the one you put on yourself.
Hmm.
But where do you draw the line? It's a thin line between working too less and working too hard.
Right.
Like getting 9 hours of sleep every day or getting 4 hours of sleep. Where do you draw the line? And how do you know you're going too far? How do you know you're not doing enough?
Hmm. It's easier to know when you've gone too far because your body reacts. You, for some reason, all of us believe in this currency of youth, and you feel like you can take anything on. I have been there. I have been sleeping 3 hours, 4 hours a night, waking up, doing crazy hours in the morning, and just thinking that I can pull this off. This is something that I just need to do for a year, and then after that I am all set, right? So this sort of thinking has creeped in, but then your body gives up on you. You can't sustain this sort of behavior for a very long time, and that is when you know that you've been working too hard. The best advice that I could give you is to listen to your body. Understand that when you're going back to bed every night, you are not able to sleep immediately. You are not feeling energized throughout the day, or you've been feeling weak or sad or any of these other things that you weren't feeling earlier. These are unusual things. Don't take them for granted that this is a part of the aspirant's journey. This really shouldn't be the case, right? So then identifying that sort of like health manifestations of overwork is what helped me to understand that I was working too hard on something. Working too less hasn't really, yeah, been a problem so far. So I don't know. But yeah.
By the way, she pursued Bharatanatyam also.
Yeah.
What did you do in that?
Bharatnatyam Visharad Pratham. So yeah,
You did that how many years?
12.
12 years.
Yeah.
In parallel. So Sanskrit, French, and what did you say? You taught English, Bharatanatyam, music, no.
I've learned some music as well for 6 years.
For 6 years, music, going in train, and
Coming to Bangalore in every
after she was working in Bangalore for 8 9 months, she went back to
Four.
again Mumbai.
3 months. 3 months.
And she went back to Mumbai. She did 1 year of
Masters.
MA in economics. That she said it helped her in some of the interviews with IITs.
Yeah. That helped me immensely because I knew I had worked very hard for the entrances. I had narrowly missed the cutoffs of some of these other institutes, but that didn't, I believe that doesn't discredit the work that I had put in. I had done a lot of work. What I now understood was I needed to optimize in terms of my engagement with the professors. I could ask them very pointed questions. During my entrance test, there were a few factors that I hadn't really understood. I could gain those benefits from my master's professors, ask them very particular things, ask them what else I could be reading. Apart from the master's syllabus that I was sort of already preparing for through my entrances, read very very widely, not just economics books but policy development studies, etc. And all of that sort of helped me when I was giving my interviews later.
We talk about the comfort zone and the money part of it. With three questions there. So that's something initially that deals with the youngsters. So as I said, getting a good pay package, joining, and then you get in a comfort zone, and then you forget about any further studies. It's happening. I learned with the counselings. So with the Rishi going for the counselings. When the colleges are offering like the now it is on their banners. So pay package of this much, this lakh, and the money
LPA.
LPS.
Yes. Yeah.
That is displayed in the very first place. Now, my thought for a youngster coming for a counseling and you are displaying LPS, you're showing LPS in the first place, how you will encourage this child to pursue for higher studies? You are preparing them to take this course and this is your goal, LPA is your goal. After 3 4 years, I just get this LPA and then I'm in a comfort zone. You want to say, I mean, if you have a dream or passion for completing your studies, then that is discouraging. Like,
Yeah.
this.
Hmm.
So it is good that as you said, it is self motivation and
Right.
you lot of self study, which helps you not to get into that.
Race. Yeah.
You might
Yes.
want to just repeat that and then maybe you have a comment on that LPA. Just repeat what he said.
Okay. Essentially, when you go to a new college, even in their orientation, right, one of the factors that they will highlight is the sort of packages that you can get after completing this degree. So what is the LPA, lakhs per annum, that you can stand to gain after completing the degree? And what this does is sort of discourages you from pursuing higher education because you know that this is your market value as of now. So you're postponing your time to gain those 8 9 10 lakhs in those in that 1 year, right, uh, by not working a job but instead pursuing a master's. And yeah, I completely agree with your point that it can be a discouraging factor to display in the first bit itself. Having said that, there are jobs that only require a UG degree, right? There are people who might do very well in their careers without a master's as well. There is on job learning and everything else that comes in. So I'm not completely against the practice because what this does is, especially for arts, right, is something that we need. So my college, for arts, we have placement packages anyway ranging from 5 LPA to 18-20 LPA. So for even students to convince their parents, let me take arts, it isn't a career that will rule out all the lucrative options for me. So that sort of helps them to convince their parents. There are merits to it, but I hear your point that it can be highly discouraging for people wanting to pursue higher studies.
It's around 50 now. We need to go. Should we close? Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions? Should we close? Okay, so we will chant the closing mantra. You repeat after me. So, Nisha, thank you for your time. So, before we close, right? So she's going back to Mumbai now. She will be pursuing the Indira Gandhi University of London.
Development research.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Every year. Okay. And then Delhi is also open for you, right?
Yeah.
You have to come back.
Hmm.
Delhi University.
School of Economics.
Uh, so this thought we got. So the reason we got this thought was when we were discussing with our parents. Kishore Bharati. Kishore Bharati is from seventh standard to 10th, 7, 8, 9, 10. So they all said that our children are very career oriented. They need to know what are the streams available, right? So then we got this thought that we can use her knowledge and all the focus that she had, for other children also, right? I had no expectations because this was totally experimental, right? We don't know who will come, and there should be a lot of people attending this actually in that age group, right? So a lot of familiar faces are there, but I mean, not very shockingly, nobody outside
Circle.
our circle came. I was hoping for more participation, but anyway, there is a video recording. Let's see. So this
Thank
is
you so much, Mr. Because for me, the biggest takeaway is, because yesterday I already shared what she wants to do. At least for Adi, when he says he wants to be a footballer, I want him, no, I want to inspire him in a way that let him search all the best places
Right.
and try what best he can do.
Hmm.
Because until you do that, nothing comes to you.
Hmm.
That's what I got
Yeah.
because I talk to students every other day, but even then, this is today's generation.
Hmm.
Yeah, because until you try, you will not get
you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
Are there any sites, any resources available to see what is out there? Whether it is science, arts, commerce, whatever lines.
Mhm.
Is there anything available to check?
Mhm. So in Maharashtra, what they do is we have guidance counselors. We have to go through a compulsory aptitude test right before our board exams to even understand. And there is a broad range of questions that a battery test, and then it works out well for us. So that is an option that you could consider after before you sit for your board exam, so that you have a vague understanding of where your aptitude is. Hmm. So yeah, aptitude testing could help.
here we have to take it as a special guest.
Ah, okay.
It is not compulsory.
Sorry, huh?
Like some parents, they want to know because usually when you ask her,
Hmm.
she says, I don't know what I have to do.
Hmm.
Then they will take them to aptitude test.
Right.
So that they will know what
Is
is
it
there.
available for any of us to?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So thanks so much. I think through at least our questions, many people's doubts or concerns might have been answered.
By the way, psychology is also a very, very good stream. Which is psychology has two streams, right? One is clinical and one is organizational. A lot of organizations hire, like they hire legal counsel, they also hire psychologists. So all these are good areas to explore. Everybody doesn't need to be a BPS. We don't need too many hospitals there. We don't want people to get sick. Be healthy, follow some good guidelines and don't be sick. At best, maybe physiotherapists are needed. Okay, we'll close. Thank you, Nisha. Thank you for your time. So please repeat after me. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः
Santu niramaya.
सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः
Sarve bhadrani pashyantu.
सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु
Kaschit dukkha bhav bhavet.
मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्
Shanti, shanti, shanti.
ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Thank you everyone. Thank you everyone. Whoever is on Facebook or YouTube, thank you. We will close the session.
Like,